Hey everyone, this is Edo Ninja, and you are now listening to the Storm Connect podcast, published by the Sigil Arts Network. I talk about gaming topics and anime series of my own interest, like RWBY, Final Fantasy, Persona 5 Royal, and so on forward. The goal I aim to accomplish on every episode is to provide insights on these subjects that are usually overlooked, to spread awareness, and learn more. Remnant Rewind is a special segment of the show to where we talk about Rooster Teeth's RWBY, which is an 3D animated web show consisting of the 4 anime S-girls, Ruby, Weiss, Blake, and Yang, and a few other traveler friends to train to become huntsmen and huntresses. However, they are now faced with a greater responsibility, which is putting their lives on the line to fight off against the creatures of Grimm and a formidable foe, which she is terrifying. She goes by the name of Salem. If you have no knowledge of the RWBY series, I recommend you to check out the episodes at roosterteeth.com. That being said, let's rewind to RWBY Volume 8, Chapters 12 and 13. Actually, I capped. I just needed to get this disclaimer out of the way first. This podcast episode was literally recorded right the day before the finale of RWBY Volume 8. So, though this podcast episode is going to be uploaded late, this episode was not altered in any way towards to the knowledge of the finale. So I just want to get that out of the way, so like nobody like goes like, what the fuck, why is this being uploaded now? Like you already knew, like are you trying to lie out of your teeth? No, it's nothing like that of the sort. So literally like right now, like I've been so busy with work and shit, and I've been trying to get this episode recorded for so long, and I'm now just finding the time to do it right before like we're about to get the final chapter to drop. So, yeah, here we are. Now that we finally got that out of the way, let's rewind. RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 12, Team Orange and Emerald Challenge Ironwood. And yes, it's actually called Team Orange. I did not know that it was called Team Orange until recently. Quick little funny short story about that. I literally looked it up when I was searching through some merchandise through the Rooster Teeth store, because they recently released new RWBY shirts, and as I was like browsing through a couple of merchandise stuff, I literally came across to the shirt called Team Orange. And the worst part about that is Oscar, because you know, again, Orange, you would expect the order would be Oscar, Ren, Nor, and Jean. No. It's Jean, and then Nora, and then Oscar, then Ren. It's just like, what? This isn't even right. Like, if y'all gonna put Team Orange, at least put it in the correct order. And oh my god, I just can't believe they actually like did Kira kind of dirty like that. Like, I mean, I get it, she's gone and she's dead already though, but it's just like, wow. And you guys are naming Team Orange? I thought it was gonna be Team Junior, but nah, they really went for Orange. And I don't know, the fact that like that's like semi-canon now, it's like, what is this? Why did they actually name it this? But I mean, that's just like a little bit of a fun quick thing that I just wanted to get out there, because I did not know that was the proper team name for it though, but here we are, I guess. But anyways, so yes, Team Orange and Emerald, they challenge Ironwood. Winter and Marrow teamed up with Crow and Robin and officially defect from Ironwood's command, which is finally, like, that was already built up. Marrow already officially defected, and Winter, she was kind of waiting for, like, the perfect time for it, which she did, in a way. And, yeah, so here's the thing. That fight with Ironwood, it only lasted for, like, a minute or two, which I kind of expected this, because here's the thing, okay? I mentioned this before, like, if Ironwood's semblance, which is known as metal, if it's driving him insane, if he's, like, really, really actively using that semblance consistently, I would expect that his, like, you know, his aura would be pretty low, which, honestly, from, like, what I've seen, it, like I said, it did not last for that long. The fight was cool though, but it was like short-lived, but you know, but since his aura broke down that easily, it's like, damn. Well, he tried it. But also another thing that I want to know, Emerald's semblance has improved like crazy. It's actually scary, because there was no sign of the airship, like, you know, because the flaw of her semblance is the fact that, like, you know, with certain, like, movements, like, you could see that there might be some smoke or, like, some type of, like, movement some way around the environment if someone pays attention close enough. But in this case, she was able to fly as Penny while also getting the rest of the team, like, in invisibility, which is crazy. It's like, what the fuck? How did you do that? Like, that hallucination semblance of hers is actually really good. And plus, like, the way of how, like, Winter, like, came up to, the supposed Penny, it's like, how did you guys pull that? Emerald, what have you been doing with your semblance? That's kind of scary, not gonna lie. I would like to see a little bit more in depth of how she was able to improve her semblance. That's like a little bit of like a one thing I would like to have in the future, but like, I don't think we're gonna get that, but it's like, whoa. Also, another thing that I want to mention about this fight as well. This bothers me specifically, and I've talked to a friend of mine about this, but I cannot believe Winter did better in this fight than her last fight with Cinder. The point that my friend brought up, Zero, he mentions that, like, it could be the fact that she was trying to protect Freya, which, I mean, I guess I could see that, which, I mean, that's a little bit valid because it's hard to, like, manage stuff going all out in a fight like that, though. And the way of how she fought against Ironwood, she just did that magical cross-tag finish. Like, what the fuck? Like, that shit was insane. It's like, okay, that is the Winter Schnee that I expected. I'm not saying that she was supposed to win against Cinder, but it's just like, I know, like, we've seen Winter's fight, and she could fight much better than that. And the fact that her aura did not last that long either, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit disappointed by that. Like, obviously, like, Cinder was destined to win that fight, though, but, like, how things happen, it's like, what was that? I don't know, it's another, like, fighting choreography. The power scaling of this show concerns me sometimes, though. But like I said, I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt where it's due at most. But, I mean, because of how much the animators keep up with the consistency of how the fighting choreography goes with most of these fights, Volume 8, like I said, it's been alarming to me of that. And now looking back at Volume 7, with that fight specifically, I'm at a loss for words at the moment. But nonetheless, they were able to synchronize pretty well with each other, which it was really satisfying. I gotta give them that. So after the fight, we get a little bit of a mini flashback as to how they were going to orchestrate their big plan of theirs that is going along pretty smoothly. I'm glad that it finally occurred to them that maybe using the Staff of Creation would definitely save Atlas, especially since they're in a dire situation of where, like, Salem can't be killed, so, like, the best thing to do is just teleport the entire kingdom to the farthest away from Atlas, which it looks like it would be Vacuo, and obviously for plot reasons, so it works out anyways. See, what I found interesting with this entire discussion, even though, like, this was, like, mostly with, like, Ruby's plan, it still felt like Oscar carried the scene because, like, I don't know, just something about it, like, most of his personality and his attitude has grown so much. Like, he's getting really decent development since Volume 7, but Volume 8, it just feels like he's, like, the main character, and, Ruby is kind of just, like, the side character, which, like, they are giving some attention to Ruby, but it feels like they've been giving a lot of more focus to Oscar, which is very interesting. I feel like they now have the set ground as to how they want to develop their characters. It's just of the way of how they're doing it, it could be better, but I guess it's a weird way of how they're trying to time manage everything. But I will say Oscar getting a in-depth character to his personality and everything. The only thing that just needs to happen now is for him to get out of the position of being a pet chewing toy. I'm so sorry, Oscar, but I mean, even though, the way you've been carrying the team has been great, but dog, you a 14/15-year-old, like, you are literally just a dog chewing toy. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. A little boy that got the cute and small little looks, just unfortunately just not so strong, which, I mean, he'll get there, hopefully, but until then, he's just a bone. Literally, all that anyone would have to do is just throw him, and then the fucking dog hound will go after for his fucking life. Like a fucking stuffed animal. I'm sorry, but Oscar kind of looks like a stuffed animal too, not gonna lie. But I mean, I kind of do feel bad because I feel his pain there. But anywho, with all that in discussion, Ruby pretty much found the loophole, and very interesting loophole and potentially convoluted plan to save Penny and the kingdom. They give all the details as to what we know about the Staff of Creation. The only thing that we know is that it can only serve one creation at a time. But there's more to this, it seems. Like the Relic of Knowledge, the Relic of Creation also contains a genie. But in this case, there's no password. Wield the staff, and the genie Ambrosius appears. We learn of how he functions, and honestly, this is a concept of commissioning an artist of any sort, and I actually love that. The thing is that you have to be very specific of what you want, and providing references, you have to provide references to him, which it does help, and honestly, I don't really consider it a drawback because, number one, you should be specific of what you want. He is creating something as to your vision, so he can't read minds, and he doesn't know of like what's going on in the world of Remnant like Jin does. If you aren't specific of what you desire, then unfortunately, that's on you. You should have mentioned that to the genie in the first place. And you know, I fucking relate to this because you know what? Like, back then, I used to take on commissions for graphic designs and for video editing and such, and let me tell you, like, it is such a pain that it's hard to meet eye to eye with your client, especially like the fact that like, oh, can you make these changes? Can you make these changes? Eventually leading to the fact that they are indecisive as to what they want. And, you know, well, you never get anything done and you just have to change up the entire thing. And you know what? Like, eventually, I just kind of just stopped giving a fuck. It's like, okay, you get what you pay for, alright? You're asking me to do this, and it's like, if you want more, then you're gonna have to pay up. Like, you know, there's a certain price that you're gonna have to fucking pay. And honestly, it applies to that same concept with the Staff of Creation, Ambrosius. And honestly, like, he just embodies that fucking person, the artist personality, and it's like, oh my god, you are speaking, like, to my inner artist soul. I fucking love it, and I value you, and you have only appeared for like 5 minutes. I love this genie already. And I'm gonna get a little bit more into that in this podcast episode. So in phase 2, Team Ruby and Penny, they were able to open the vault, and before Penny self-destructs, she grabs the fucking relic, and just like the Relic of Knowledge, time stops completely. Another note that I actually want to point out here is that I find it very interesting of how inside the Atlas Vault, it's more spring themed. The Haven Vault was more like summer themed because it was literally a fucking desert to when it was open, which it's like, you'd think you'd see spring because spring made in Vault, winter made in Vault. You'd expect icebergs and snow and shit, right? No, we did not see that. Like, I don't know. This feels like this is kind of like out of order. I don't know if that was like done on purpose, but I don't know. I just feel like it's so weird the fact that like, you know, they label this as like the season maiden for that specific kingdom. And it's not exactly certain, like, you know, when you actually look inside the vault, it doesn't like actually like match up with the theme. It's like something completely different. It's like, what is this? I want to question who in the hell designed these vaults, and I just want to ask them, why are they designed like this? Because this is kind of weird. Like, literally, the Haven Vault was literally a fucking Mac OS desktop background, and now we got a Windows XP desktop background. I don't know, man. Like, what are we gonna fucking get with the Summer Vault? Because, again, like, we already got, like, 2 of the fucking seasons down, so all that it really is would be fall and fucking... what? Winter? Yeah, fall and winter are the only ones left, so I'm curious as to how those vaults are gonna look like when we actually get to them. Leaving with all those little notes aside, let's get back to the actual main canon of the story. So Ambrosius expressed his distaste towards his last project, which obviously it was to make Atlas float, which it's very fucking funny, not gonna lie. I can imagine that he did not have fun making that. And I can see that because, like, you're making a fucking giant city float in the fucking middle of the goddamn sky. Like, Honestly, I want to have a flashback with Ambrosius, like, talking to Ironwood or Ozpin, however of how Atlas was made, to have the fucking floaty sitting in the fucking sky. I just want to know his thought process as to how he was making it, what it was like working with Ironwood and Ozpin or whoever, and God, it's just that shit is so fucking funny to me. Kirby, if you're listening to this podcast episode, that is the one flashback I want to have animated. Ambrosius making Atlas float. I'd pay money for that shit. So obviously Ruby and Ambrosius exchange their greetings in some way, and we're gonna treat this like in an artist way, as if like you're on Twitter or wherever, Fiverr, whatever the fuck, as if you're talking to basically the independent contractor artist. So let's word it like that, okay? Ruby, who was speaking to the artist, Ambrosius, worded her commission very specific, which is a good thing, but also very interesting, which caused lots of discussion of the Ruby community speculating of how the end result of the commission was possible. So they were prepped up, they brought her references, and Ruby says, "We want you to make a new version of Penny, using her exact same robot parts." She mentions that making an exact copy of with or without the virus would be meaningless, because once you use the staff for something else to create, you know, whatever project that they have in mind or whoever else does it, Penny dies regardless. So at first it's just like, okay, well, if they use the staff to create a new Penny, then obviously all they have to do is just ensure that nobody fucking grabs the staff of creation, and they just basically Penny's life would be relied on the staff. But because that there is potential, like, there is a possibility that someone could be they would need to use the staff of creation for something else, which is transporting the kingdom to Vacuo. So it's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? So I guess that this is where they found the loophole, okay? She emphasizes this once again. We want you to create a new version of Penny, using her existing robotic parts, taking the virus with them. So, meaning, literally what this means, as to how I interpret it to the best of my ability, basically, the robot is remade in some way, basically just a new version, but what happens is that he took the human soul, Penny, out of the robot, the Penny robot. So if Ambrosius takes the robotic parts out of her, it only leaves Penny, her soul. But Ambrosius isn't destroying her in any way. After for Ambrosius' brainstorm, leaving his excitement aside, he mentions that he doesn't even know what the end result is going to be, and this is potentially very, very dangerous. Because here's the thing, you can take the human soul out of the robot, but it's like, there's no body. So what do you do? So I guess this is the risk that Team Ruby was willing to take, because that was their only option, is the fact that they were going to hope to fucking God that her aura that embodies her soul manifests into that human body. So I'm gonna get into the more of the end result a little bit about this, because after Ambrosius creates, we cut to Team Junior, which they get the signal that their plan worked. So just as they were about to relay the message, the kingdom wide communications goes down. The CCT, all of it just goes down. And at first it could be the argument that, well, because of what they just did, Atlas is falling and the kingdom is about to fucking crash. So obviously the kingdom-wide communications, it would be down. No, that was not the case, because it looks like Mr. fucking Watts over there is obviously hijacking their fucking servers. So, because I mean, what Oscar said was the fact that, like, the good thing is that Atlas has enough gravity dust where it won't have Atlas fall onto Mantle immediately. But it's obviously going to, you know, slip up and, well, it's gonna fall just like that. But just not immediate. So back to Team Ruby with Penny. It looks like Penny is no longer a robot. She is now human, which means they have successfully saved her. Even afterwards, when they ask Ambrosius to create multiple door portals heading to Vacuo. after they ask Ambrosius to create multiple door portals heading to Vacuo, only the robot disintegrates. A lot of people would assume that the human would disintegrate, but that's not what happened here. Not the human Penny, which it does make sense. You could argue that it is a convoluted plot point that they exploited there, but I mean, again, like, I'll break it down here, okay? I'll say this again. Ruby's plan was this. We want you to create a new version of Penny using her existing exact same robotic parts, taking the virus with them. So all that Ambrosius did was remake the robot Penny. Basically, like, all he did was just create that new version of that robot, but it's just Penny robot, if that makes any sense. It's just the robot. Whatever the soul was, the human soul of the actual Penny, he extracted that out of the robot. Her aura was able to manifest into that human body successfully. So on that note, this can still be arguable to some degree. The human body wasn't exactly Ambrosius' creation. Just the robot, because again, the robot was gonna fucking self-destruct regardless because of that virus. Now that robot opened the vault. Penny, the former robot girl that reached levels of human emotions and a personality, is now a real girl. But now that she is no longer a robot, I have no doubt that her arc is far from over. And let me tell you why. We were given the robotics perspective, right? And when she was analyzing, or when it was analyzing the new Penny, you could see that, like, there was a few frames of just her aura, which, I mean, obviously, too, like, when you analyze somebody, you would see some type of, like, data. There was no exact of human data that the robot could analyze. It was just her aura. What I believe is she is some type of entity that just happened to take shape of that human. So she's not exactly human. She just has that shape of it, which that's what Penny's character arc is really all about, really. Now she can experience of what it's like to be a human by actually becoming one that way. Now she could go on a free, full-on life journey of self-discovery, which that's pretty much what was Penny about, because she was trying to learn what's it like to be a human and such, and she has these emotions she still exactly can't comprehend. Now she can actually experience them for herself, which honestly, for a new girl like her, it's gonna be a lot for her to take in. So much. And her also being the Winter Maiden, oh my god, I'm just surprised of how much she's able to take all of this in. But they brought her back for a reason, and she went from being a robot into a real girl now. So, if they fucking kill off Penny the next chapter, I'm literally going to scream and I'm canceling the show. It's just over. That's just the truth. That's just the facts. I'm sorry, but you can't just give this much of depth and character for Penny just for her to become human. That could have her have an amazing self-discovery arc for herself, all for her to die the next chapter because of Cinder's bitch ass to taking her fucking Winter Maiden powers. But I'm gonna get a little bit more into that. But anyways, like I said, I feel like she is some sort of entity that will be a full, fleshed out human as the series progresses. The only thing that I'm very alarmed about for Penny is the fact that she can't fight the same way, because she was literally like the top fighting war machine for Atlas, and now she doesn't exactly have all that except for the maiden powers, which, I mean, again, it does make up for it, because her being a maiden, well, I mean, again, their maidens are pretty fucking busted. But this all really goes in hand as to how you fight, though. But that's just the unfortunate part, is the fact that that's the only thing that she has is, well, her being a maiden. So I just hope she keeps her maiden powers, and who knows, she could probably unlock her own semblance. That'd be really cool, actually. Team Kirby, please do it. And this chapter ends off with that Ginny specifically giving them a dire warning. Do not fall. Which, of course, everyone's going like, what the fuck? Why did he give us that type of fucking warning? Well, I mean, here's the thing. When they specifically give those references and coordinates to how they want everyone to transfer from Atlas to Vacuo, well, they have the door portals and they need a central location for them to like basically have a safe space for all the refugees just for them to go to Vacuo. And how they describe this central location is a place like the vaults that are not part of Remnant, which that kind of exploited a couple things here and there as to how the worlds work around here for Ruby, and I am a little bit alarmed about that, not gonna lie. I just hope it doesn't become a huge, big thing later, but I don't know. Well, I'm gonna talk about Chapter 13, and you're gonna see why I'm more concerned about that. But regardless, the highlight of that chapter was Penny becoming a real girl, and I cried because they're doing the girl justice, and I love Penny. I will say that's like one of the characters that they've been doing pretty well with in the series. Like it's hard to fuck up with fucking Penny, and I will not forgive Ruby if they fuck it up. This sounds like a shitty thing to say though, but it's like they made a very beautiful, well-written character, and I'll be so disappointed and very upset if something happens to her because I don't want a Volume 3. I was so upset about Volume 3. I'm not trying to go through another PTSD moment here. No. But anyways, yeah, besides that's all I really have to say. That was the highlight of this chapter. We love Penny here. Now, let's talk about Chapter 13. There's plenty to talk about with Chapter 13, okay? So, Team Orange, going back to that name again, they go to every portal to inform everyone to come through that it's safe to go through these door portals because they're all being transported to Vacuo. And, they weren't able to relay that message on time because, the Kingdom-wide communications are now down. So, we see Emerald, Oscar, and Ren arriving in Vacuo, but they kind of had a little bit of a oops moment. Those bitches really thought that they had that laid out, but the problem is the fact that they did not specify where to go in Vacuo. There's no signal, and they are dealing with a fucking sandstorm in the middle of fucking nowhere in the goddamn desert. Like, honestly, couldn't you guys have mentioned that you guys want to be transported specifically, like, right close to Shade Academy or somewhere where the global communications, or not the global communications, I'm sorry, Vacuo's kingdom-wide communications? Nah, they did not think that plan out carefully, which, I mean, again, I'm gonna count on them more because things get worse in this chapter. So, as expected, Cinder just magically shows up to the fucking party and is now the center of attention since Salem is still reconstructing herself after hours of that kinetic energy that was blown up on her fucking face. So she shows up at the central location and she just starts killing people left and right because she's herself. So once Cinder makes her confrontation with Team Ruby, she's like, oh yeah, so how did you guys think that I know about that? Which, this is the part that I actually was about to get into to Chapter 12 though, but like, it's consistent with Chapter 13 as well. I actually love of how they do their little recaps or like their flashback, and it has the smooth transition to what's going on with the other characters as if it was like present real time. And then they can finally get back to like, well, what's going on here and such. They don't like make it super cliche or any of that sort. Everything has been very smooth in their recaps, and I'm really picky of how recaps are done, but surprisingly, they've been doing such a really good job at it. So, unfortunately, the last question was used, which, I mean, again, Neo had some type of trust issue with Cinder, but unfortunately, that last question was used for their stupid counter plan, which, unfortunately, it was brilliant, which I'm gonna get into, but gosh, I was hoping that last question was going to be something really good, but I guess it left it to the enemy's advantage, and this is where we're at right now, which I was hoping it was going to be even more grand, just as to, well, what is Osmond hiding from Team Ruby and such. And again, I thought that this question would have been used specifically for Hazel, but I guess not. So Cinder asks Jin what has Ruby and her teammates planned, and she basically shows them as to what they're up to and how they plan to save Atlas. I will say the only thing I liked about this segment specifically is the fact that Cinder now realizes that Emerald is happy with being with them more so than to her following with Cinder, which it kind of left her feeling conflicted. I did like I did like the sign of that, which again, I'm really hoping it doesn't look like it's gonna happen. Maybe it will in the future, but I mean, again, this is something like because of that, I really want to see Emerald's character close with her seeing Cinder again, and I want to go a little bit more into that, in depth about that. If they were to meet each other again, I want to see them fight as Cinder is trying to emotionally manipulate her, which I think it'd actually be really, really nice to see. And I would like to see where Emerald is feeling conflicted in all of this. That is something that I feel like it would be really interesting, but I don't know if they would actually take up to that concept. I don't want to see, like, Emerald trying to, like, be all tough immediately. I want to see if she can actually try to combat it as she confronts Cinder because, well, she's no longer on her side now. It's wishful thinking. I don't know if that'll actually go as planned because, again, there are some insinuations that Cinder could actually die in the finale, but there's also some insinuations where she won't. But moving along forward with that, it's just really crazy to me the fact that, like, you know, once they, like, reviewed with their plan, she's like, okay, let's do this. You tore up this kingdom, Watts, by using your intellect. Finish what you started. And of course, he gets so excited for that, and, well, they fuck up Atlas already, and now he has the entire fucking kingdom's, controls under his fingertips. And yeah, now Atlas is gonna continue going to fucking shit, all because Cinder had a brilliant fucking master plan. Watts basically only helping that by a huge milestone, and yeah, no, the Center of Chaos just still continues even without Salem's presence. But it's just so weird the fact that Cinder is now all of a sudden humble after she got trashed on for like most of this entire fucking volume. She just all of a sudden just got smart and came up with a grand counter plan against Ruby's plan. She was humble towards to Neo and towards to Watts. It's like, oh yeah, I'll get you guys what you guys deserve. Not even like trying to backstab them because she's everything. Like, no, now she's like acting a little bit more as to how she was at the beginning, with the little twist of new character dev as to what we know about her now and what happens when Watts basically tore her a new one. So after Cinder and Neo left to go fuck shit up, like, again, like, we see the seamless, like, transition as to, like, okay, now that we're here with Watts, what's going on with the other rest of the characters, which, you know, he does his own hacking magic, and we see the segment with Crow, Robin, and the Aesops. Basically, like, they were about to handcuff them, but, you know, Watts taking over a machine robot, and he was able to divide them, leaving Elm behind of Atlas that's handcuffed. Harriet and Vine was able to, they were able to get into a ship, and you just have Crow and Robin also get into a ship trying to fucking intercept the payload onto fucking Mantle because Harriet is just batshit crazy at this point. So after that, we see a stupid strong plot convenience ever in the goddamn series. It's one of the most strongest stupid plot conveniences. So we see the segment with Ironwood waking up next to Jacques, and, you know, Ironwood is all like fucked up the fact that, like, well, they got the staff since Atlas is falling, but for some fucking weird reason, the hologram prison cell or whatever, yeah, it just all of a sudden stopped working, and he was able to walk out of the cell so casually. And the worst part about that, why were the guns there? His weapons were not confiscated. Like, why were Crow's and Robin's weapons somewhere else, but Ironwood's weapons, they were right outside of his prison cell? Why would you leave that there? Winter, what the fuck were you doing? Like, that's something that you want to keep away from him in case of something were to happen. And, you know, you guys are losing people because people in Atlas are dying left and right. Like, what are you doing? Oh my god, I just can't believe that happened. Now, see, even though it stopped working out of nowhere, I want to believe Watts let Ironwood out of his cell just so that he could cause more destruction to the kingdom in their favor, but you may never know in this series. But dude, I was not expecting Jacques Schnee to die because, like, you know, with all things considered of what happened in the last volume, I would expect for him to die at least early into this volume or late of the last volume. But the fact that James Ironwood, he was just like, oh, let me just Thanos you real quick. And, well, he's dead. He's fucking dead. I didn't think they'd actually kill him. What the fuck? Wow. They actually killed him. I mean, honestly, to be fair, nobody's gonna fucking miss him. Nobody actually gave a fuck about this greedy, rich-ass, bitch-ass, fucking wannabe Schnee head-ass over there. No one's gonna fucking miss him. Even though it was Weiss's idea to, like, have them into safety so then they could be tried in the court of law. But, oh my god, I did not expect for him to die just like that. And, like, I don't know. It just feels so surreal and really weird that they actually killed him off this way. And, well, now the remaining Shees is all the women and Whitley. That's it. I didn't expect for them to actually pull such a ballsy move like that, which, I mean, to be fair, I feel like it was a little bit overdue. But, I mean, I'm gonna fucking roll with that. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's like, it's one of those things I'm like, I don't even know how to react to that. It just happened. So after all of that, we finally get, and I waited for this for so fucking long, a Cinder versus Team Ruby fight. I see Cinder picking fights with the other characters, and I thought with certain other chapters, I thought she would fight Crow and Robin, because, well, Salem gave the order to Cinder to go retrieve Watts and Atlas, which, you know, that's where those two were at, but I guess that did not happen. But, I mean, hey, I kind of was hoping to see this for a very, very long time, the team actually taking on a maiden, specifically Cinder. So this was actually really satisfying to see, because you know what? The battle choreography was really good. It was really, really decent. Even though it was for like a few seconds, it's better than most of the animations that I've complained about yet in this volume so far. And after Cinder does her incredible antagonist speech, we learn eventually in the scene, since Yang was trying to save Ruby from getting sniped by Neo, yeah, we now know that Neo's Umbrella Blade can cut down people's aura very easily, which I find that very interesting, because she usually pulls that out, she pulls the fucking blade out when she's about to finish off one of her opponents. But in this case, she just pulled it out of nowhere, just thinking that she could just fucking end Ruby's life just like that, but, you know, she still has her aura on. But, yeah, no, I mean, Yang got fucked up, and, you know, her aura broke so easily, and, well, yep, that bitch died. Supposedly, that is. Now, here's the thing, like, with a situation like that and how the central location was built, you would expect for some of the citizens to be actually dead alongside with Yang. But Rooster Teeth always has this habit of supposedly killing off a main character a chapter right before the finale. And I don't know why they have this trend for a long time now. Like, at first when I had the initial reaction, I'm like, oh my god, they actually killed that bitch. What? They're just gonna let her go just like that? What the fuck? But thinking about it, they usually do this. This is a fucking rinse and repeat formula that they've been doing for a while. So I would not be surprised if we see Yang actually alive in the finale. If not, and if she's actually dead, well, goodness, that's a shock, which honestly, that could be one of the most ballsy moves that Rooster Teeth would ever fucking pull on this goddamn show. They already killed Pyrrha, which that was like somewhat part of like the main group cast, but killing off one of the four main girls, I think that'd be very interesting to take a dark turn. But there are some things that Yang still has to achieve, which I feel like because of how much they actually set up with that, like especially with Raven, I don't think they would let her go that easily. But if I'm not gonna lie, I would actually kind of hope they killed off Yang. I would not be happy the way they did it, but like if that was actually the case, the writing would actually kind of be a little bit more interesting rather than something a little bit, well, kind of bland. It's like, oh, okay, we kind of saw that coming, as we've seen for the past few volumes, unfortunately. But this segment was really great because we get to see more of the battle choreography with Ruby and Blake versus Neo and Cinder versus Weiss, which, oh my god, I'm not gonna lie, like I said, it's surreal for me to even see that, but hey, I'm living for it. I love it here, I'm loving it, and the soundtrack, I don't know what it is about the soundtrack, but they fucking popped off with that shit. It is very nice. We may have not gotten a Casey Lee Williams song or like any like song artist, but like just the orchestra, the fucking, oh my god, I don't know. They always they never cease to amaze me when it comes to the background music, but just in that scene in particular, like holy crap, that was well done and fitting to the central location they're in right now. So obviously Team Ruby, they wanted to ensure that Penny goes to Vacuo with the staff, but since she's a maiden and you know, she also has the staff and shit, and what she heard that fucking cry from Blake, oh yeah, she got so fucking pissed seeing that Cinder came back. But I'm really worried about this because like Penny was getting washed in that fucking fight, and for some fucking reason, like Cinder, like not only like she starts being humble and smart, but like she remembers of how to use the tactics that she's shown since the beginning of the fucking series. Like, what is this? Who is this character? Who the fuck is Cinder Fall? Because the fact that I'm seeing some of her old tactics in fighting return in this fight is frightening and very fucking cursed. And it's so fucking strange because in the last fight, like, even though Penny was trying to protect Amity, like, she did fucking better than Cinder, and now, like, in this case, like, Penny's getting washed, and it's like, what the fuck? And I mean, I'm getting the benefit of the doubt, like, she can't fight the way that she used to, which she's only solely relying on her maiden powers, but it's still fucking scary, because it's like, oh my god, like, she's barely getting any hits on the fucking Cinder, and it's, ugh. But I mean, hey, I will at least give her the fact that she delivered a fucking great, that punch was powerful, holy shit. I better hope that knocked out her aura to some degree, because fuck that. But it's almost as if Cinder's actually reclaiming some parts of her old characteristics back and her fucking tactics to some extent with a Volume 8 twist into it, and I'm just... I'm overwhelmed by it. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I'm quite overwhelmed, and I'm not exactly quite thrilled about this, because I'm tired of this bitch. I hate Cinder, and I am tired of her trying to bully Penny. And I just fucking hope that Penny just goes apeshit and actually kills the fucking bitch. Or Neo, I don't care who. But I'm just tired of her going after Penny because she has the maiden powers. And I've been having these dreadful, endless thoughts that what if Cinder actually does get the Winter Maiden powers? I'm really scared of that because I feel like that could happen. But also, this could be a way for Penny to unlock her semblance now that she's no longer a robot, and it's possible for her to do so as a human. But even then, there's so much going on with this, and it's so emotionally, I'm very emotionally invested into this, and it's killing me in the inside, because it's like, I am over here recording several hours later before the finale drops, and I'm just here in so much anxiety. I'm like, what the fuck are they gonna do with Penny? I swear to God, just end Cinder, please. I can't do this. Or maybe drop the chapter early. I'll take that too. Whichever works, I'll take. But then at the end of that segment, we see that Blake stops fighting Neo and assisting Ruby, and she looks over the fight with Cinder and Penny and Weiss, and it looks like they're fucking struggling, and I don't know if she's now thinking of going after Cinder, because, oh god, like, this is kind of a fuck situation, because it looks like that Ruby's mostly been having a one-on-one fight with Neo, so it's like, maybe it would be for the best that she does go after Cinder, because that bitch is a fucking problem, especially for a fucking maiden. But with that being said, Blake raging like that, I want to see more of that with the finale chapter. As to if it's towards to Neo or Cinder, I don't care who. I just want to see of how she's going to act and talk throughout that fight against the antagonist, because she has not really interacted much with Neo and Cinder, so I'm kind of hoping to see more of that, to be honest. We've only seen much more of Penny and Cinder's interactions, but I would love to see more with like Team Ruby, especially with the other girls, because they have not met much with Cinder in comparison with Ruby and now Penny. So we see nothing of that, and we cut to the next segment, which we go back to Vine and Harriet. So fucking finally, I was actually waiting for this for a while. I don't know why this took so long, and it came from Marrow first and not Vine, but Vine finally logically sets himself straight and actually is now seeing like what would be the best course of action here. Which, he says, okay, well, I'm starting to see whatever Ironwood was doing. He doesn't exactly say it like that though, but it's like, the fact that Ironwood is no longer in charge it says a lot already. And the fact that, like, at least with Team Ruby, they don't mean with harm. They're having all the citizens escape the Kingdom of Atlas to Vacuo, so they will be safe. So it's like, at this point, like, he's no longer in charge. We might as well help them carry out the plan, because they were able to, pull off something so grand that Ironwood couldn't, because he's had some conflictions with his leadership, and obviously to how batshit crazy that he's been getting in this volume and somewhat towards the end of the last one. So yes, it's meaningless for them to keep conflicting with Team Ruby, and they might as well just help them out. But of course, Harry was just like, no, it's about loyalty, it's about all this and such. It's like, girl, like, I get it that you've been part of the military, that you've been following orders though, but like, you gotta look at it this way. Your fucking captain, yeah, he just got imprisoned, well, to your guys' knowledge for the time being, but it's like, Team Ruby is now technically taking charge of everything, which, like, wow, that's kind of sad if you put it that way, because it's like, wow, 4 kids was able to best the fucking general and most of the Atlas military. That's sad. But, of course, Harriet keeps emphasizing of how Clover was super important to her, which I guess that's what shaped her up to who she is now, which I don't know what was the point of, like, keep teasing that, though. Like, I mean, I get it, she's really upset about the loss of Clover, but I guess they go a little bit more into that, which is kind of crazy, which I guess that's why, like, she's been acting the way that she is, which I guess she's trying to set that purpose as to the person that she highly respected the most. I don't know, like, I'm not saying it's actually a bad thing, but, like, it's a little bit of a odd execution. I'm gonna have to see a little bit more of that as to how they keep developing Harriet, or if they decide to kill her off in the next chapter, which it might be likely anyways, because she kept fucking pulling off that type of shit. But it's not entirely her fault, because, well, when she got into the military and when she respected Clover, that's all that she really knew. So, Vine fails to reason with her, and, well, she starts squaring up with Crow, that just happened to ambush her, and same with Robin as well. I mean, not actually inside the ship, because she's in her own ship, ensuring that the fucking payload does not fucking drop, which I guess, hopefully Robin will be able to steer away from Mantle for that though, but I don't know how much of a success that's gonna be, and it's a little bit scary, because Watt already took over Harriet's ship as she's fighting against Crow. So, yeah, no, that there might be a big explosion regardless. So, like, based on how things are going, I don't think they're gonna kill fucking Crow, because obviously, like, he's gonna be set up for fucking Vacuo for the showdown with Tyrion. But I don't see Harriet living through this, or Vine. I only see Marrow and Elm actually living, but I don't know about Harriet and Vine. And I hope to God Robin doesn't die, but I actually don't see any death flags towards to her. So hopefully she does get carried into the Vacuo arc, but again, we may never know. Speaking of death flags, there's a showdown that is taking place into the Winter Maiden's vault. Ironwood versus Winter. And I'm sincerely hoping, because that Ironwood got a little bit of an upgrade of his weapons, and Winter performing quite well in the previous chapter, I really am hoping that this is going to be a great fight. I just don't want the haunted Schnee mansion with the Hound episode animation choreography quality. I definitely want to see what I saw in the last chapter, and this chapter to some degree with Team Ruby versus Cinder. I want to see that type of quality if they can match up to that, because holy shit, like, we've seen the character's potential. They can do better. So hopefully they don't let us down on that finale. I just don't want that to like be, half-assed. If it's going to be half-assed, the most that I would hope to see is the fact that during the fight they accidentally enter into the door vault that's leading to the central location to the chaos with Team Ruby versus Cinder and Neo. And eventually Jean and Noir, they're gonna see what's going on because they're helping out the Atlesian citizens to escape Atlas to Vacuo. So they're gonna come out and they're gonna fucking see that a shit chaos fest is happening inside. So if we have Ironwood and Winter, Jean and Nora come inside to the fucking location, oh my god, it is gonna be hell, and I would hope they actually fucking do that, because I don't know how else they're actually gonna execute this just right. But we'll just have to see where that goes, which I want to get a little bit more into that, because as I'm recording this episode, the thumbnail, the synopsis, and the time frame has been dropped. But I'll get a little bit more into that after this part. The only comment that I really have to say regarding with that segment with Ironwood and Winter, Winter, she stands on her ground, which, I've been loving her character in this volume, and they've been pretty consistent with her for this entire time. And the very little humanity left that Ironwood had was him crying regarding with Winter no longer being by his side, which honestly, I kind of like that touch, because, she was extremely loyal to Ironwood up until this point, which it shows a lot, and that just shows of how much, he respected her as well, regardless of her flaws and for everything, but she was extremely loyal and excelled most of the things that Ironwood expected out of her. It's just that sad to see his second in command defect from his command. Regardless, like I said, I hope they don't let me down in the last chapter. Now, how they end this chapter off? Well, Team Or, that's what I'm going to call them right now, which is Oscar, Ren, and Emerald. They just had a Jurassic Park moment, because, they realized Penny is not out there, and, Oscar tried to go back, and obviously, because of Weiss, she literally says, one-way ticket to Vacuo, and because it's only a one-way ticket, they can't go back. Oh, how smart were they? Oh my god, Team Ruby, what? Yeah, you really thought you guys thought through everything. Yeah, no, you guys tried it. Anyways, and why did I say the Jurassic Park? Well, it's not only because of the soundtrack that happens at the end, but also, Grimm. Because there's a full of kingdom of negativity, and the Grimm just started rushing through in that fucking that sandstorm. So I'm curious as to how that part is going to end in the final chapter. We'll just have to see. Okay, so I will say chapters 12 and 13, they were really decent for the most part. With some concerns, it's not like a really bad thing. It's just with some concerns. It really depends as to how they write this. So obviously, I don't know how they're going to end this off, because there's so many, again, even though we got the thumbnail, we got the everything, I don't know what they're going to fucking do. Because here's the thing, okay? The door portals are not going to close unless they use the Staff of Creation again. So how they're going to use it, I don't know, and I really hope that does not fall into Cinder or Neo's hands. Because again, they expected her, Penny, Team Or, they expected Penny to come through and deal with the sandstorm, either using the staff or her maiden powers, which, the maiden powers would make sense, because obviously the maiden powers can give you control of the fucking weather so fucking frequently. I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen much of that, but yeah, they can fucking do that. They're that terrifying. But I highly doubt they're going to use the staff for that. But I mean, again, I'll be surprised if they don't use it in the last chapter. Now let's talk about the details for this, okay? So the chapter's title, it's called the final word. It is 23 minutes and 16 seconds. I don't know if this part is true, but this part, the ending credits song for Volume 8 is 5 minutes and 5 seconds. I don't know how credible that is. We'll see in about several hours. Well, obviously, when this episode is out. I mean, obviously, this chapter is going to be out by the time this fucking podcast episode is out. But regardless of anything, so in a sense, you add that, and you also add in the opening intro. That's if they include it, which obviously they probably will. The chapter is only about like 17 to 18 minutes at best, which that is kind of little for what's going on right now. But again, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I just hope they don't just rush things. And, you know, because again, like if you do the time right, like that's like 4 to 5 minutes for each segment. Maybe. That's just an estimated guess, that is. The synopsis, sometimes it's worth it all to risk the fall, which obviously, if you have not noticed, that is a clear, direct line from the Volume 8 intro. And because of that, their Team RWBY is definitely falling off the platforms, which again, just as Yang did, which it's making me feel that as if she actually did not die. But again, we could be wrong. You gotta keep being open-minded, but there's a pattern that we're seeing with Kyuubi here. So, I'm gonna make my little small last predictions here. Penny unlocks her semblance, but she loses the Winter Maiden powers. Ironwood dies. The Aesops dies. Crow, Robin, and Winter get to Vacuo. I see Neo living through this. I don't see Cinder living through this, but I'm 50-50 on that because they focused so much onto her character in this entire volume and gave her a dedicated backstory chapter. It might be the sign that she might die, because usually whenever a character gets a backstory or any of the sorts of a lot of focus, they're probably going to die pretty soon, which I'm hoping that fucking happens and she gets nothing. And we see Team Sun and Team Coffee. That's all I fucking want for this chapter. That's all I fucking want, and we get to see a little bit more glimpse of the Kingdom of Vacuo. So that is like the most of like last minute like crackhead energy guess that I'm going to put out there. I am recording this at midnight, and you know, I've been kind of freaking the fuck out in my Discord server of what's gonna happen and what our bingo boards are gonna look like when it's dropped. I'm not ready, and I'm scared. And I'm pretty sure whoever is listening to this podcast is feeling the exact same way, especially prior to the finale. Because obviously this is going to be out, you already know. But I don't know. There's so much I actually want to say, but like that's all that I can really say. Oh yeah, one thing I will say that finally, after the past couple weeks, the new chapter details, they did not release that at an unreasonable time like last time and the last time before that. So it was nice to see that we got that a little bit early though, but I'm I mean, regardless, even if they didn't show it, even if they did show it, I'd still be acting the way that I am right now. It's inevitable at this point. But now that we know, I guess we're gonna see how this volume ends. Oh, I'm so tired. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be all for the podcast episode. If you're listening to the show on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave out a 5-star rating if you enjoyed the podcast. Hit up the Storm Connect Twitter at StormConnectEN or other platforms this podcast is on for feedback on the show. I am very intrigued to hear your guys' thoughts on today's Remnant Rewind episode, especially the fact that like this has been uploaded like way later. So oh gosh, if you want to ask me about my thought process or such, or like express to what my points were, or maybe express something that I didn't take into consideration, please go right the fuck ahead, because right now I'm tired as I'm recording this because I'm so scared for, well, what's gonna happen in the next few hours. Anyways, that being said, this is Zero Ninja. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and for fucking heaven's sake, stay smart. See you guys next time.